Collective Creative Initiative, Drink the Ink, Bailey Harris Kelly is on, everyone, providing equal opportunity despite economic circumstance. The time is just checking in the corner there. Yes, it is 1 o'clock. Everything is merging into one, but we have a great guest coming your way now. The phenomenal Michael Xavier is coming your way, but please, before, know that we still have that amazing offer, 12 months free offer, access to Backstage still running. And if you want to ask a question during this session, if you're live, please do subscribe and put your questions in the box below. Unfortunately, if you don't ask a question during this hour and you revisit it on playback, obviously Michael will not be able to answer your questions. So get them in very quickly. We have listeners from Canada to Ireland to Australia, so there might be a delay with your questions coming in, but know that we will reply to them accordingly. You've heard enough from me. Oh my goodness, Q&A's galore, but this one is a one to remember. Michael, a very good afternoon to you.
Hello, how are you doing, Bailey?
Doing very well, thank you. If it's okay. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, I was literally just posting on my socials saying, come and ask me some questions, because I thought it would be a good idea to do that. Let everybody know I'm here, live.
Yeah, brilliant, awesome. Well, we've already got a surge of people in, so hopefully your followers will be coming in as well, and we'll see what's going on. But for those that are just coming in now, with every moment that's passing, please just get your questions in, because this is free here for you. I'm a greedy old git, so I'll be enjoying it nonetheless, regardless. But if it's okay, Michael, jumping into the thick of it then, because of the time that we do have. Obviously, before we went live, we're talking about how busy you are, doing 3 self-tapes just before even going on this live. How on earth are you able to prioritize everything that's being chucked at you left, right, and center?
Prioritizing, yeah, good question. You just have to go, what's the most important thing right at this minute? And auditions are kind of top of the list at the minute, because obviously there's not a lot of work going on. So to get an audition at the minute is fantastic. To get the opportunity to, put yourself forward when everybody is out of work is great. And then, of course, it doesn't rain, but it pours. You sit around for ages waiting for an audition to come in, and then you get 3 in one day. So it's one of those where you go, okay, I have an hour window to record 3 self-tapes. So that's what I've just been doing just before we got on here. But not complaining. I'm so grateful for the opportunities always, because you go through the dry spells, and then you go, where's my agent? Where's the phone not ringing off the wall? And then, and then of course you do the typical actor thing of complaining you've got too much. So I'm trying not to fall into that trap.
What's been the most interesting self-tape breakdown that you've been given, and you've been like, okay, all that this is a bit perhaps bizarre, somewhat?
Oh, that's a good question. Bizarre. Well, one of the ones I just did actually was for. I can't say what it's for, because obviously it's not been made yet, and that would be breaching my confidentiality. But the character itself was slicked back hair, dark eyes, sinewy was the definition, the description, and he's a baddie, which is always fun to play, but very much not my normal typecast. So kind of always fun to read something and go, oh, okay, yeah, you want that? Great, I'll give something completely different today, which is good. Except I was recording 2 other ones and knew I had this, so I didn't slick the hair back and look quite so dark-eyed and sinewy, because I thought I'm going to look horrendous on this. So I've kind of gone a little coiffed and a little too clean cut maybe for that character, but hopefully they can see beyond the look and appreciate the acting.
Exactly. When a particular role may not be perhaps 100% suited for you, what do you do just to put your own print on it, so that yeah?
I mean, it has to be from within. It has to be from you. So the worst thing I think you can do as an actor is try and create what you think they want from the character. I think you have to bring yourself into the character and make it you have to make the casting directors and the directors go, we weren't actually meaning this, but this is better. So you're essentially giving them what you think is the best version of the character, but it's got to be from within you. If you're trying to play a character that's so far removed from anything you've experienced or anything that you are, then what can tend to happen is you're kind of putting a veneer onto a real person. And I think that if you can connect it as much to reality as possible and make it as real as possible, then it's going to be much more, well, it's just going to be much more connected, much more profound as a performance.
That sense of truth and connection, obviously that could even be just shown with Trevor Nunn and the War of the Roses, that sense of informal audition. For you, do you think just sit in that present moment and let those possibilities come to you and don't expect the next moment? Is that how you kind of live with your career?
Yeah, it is actually. It really is. People say, "Oh, what do you want to play? What characters do you want to play?" And my response to that has always been, well, apart from saying I'd love to play Hamlet, I'm getting a little old now, maybe for that role. That was what I always used to say. Oh, I want to play Hamlet. But apart from that, I've always said that I in order to kind of mentally deal with the industry, which is incredibly disappointing at most periods of your life, I don't ever kind of put a kind of label on anything I want to do as such. As I say, I'm a typical greedy actor. I want to do it all. I want to do film, television, Shakespeare, musicals, everything. And I've been very lucky because I've managed to do all those things. But if you say, right, I really want to play that role, then the chances of it happening are so slim in this industry that you will probably end up just being disappointed. So if you have 10 roles that you'd love to play, you may end up ticking off 1 or 2 of them in your career. And then, in your deathbed, when you're 175, as I hope I am, I'll be going, I never got to play the Hamlet or whatever the roles are. So I just think it's kind of setting yourself up for a disappointment.
We've got a question that's just come in. First question. Oh, this is nice. We're 7 minutes in and we've got our first question. Right. Exciting. Get those questions in. Guys, it's from Natasha. It says, hey, Mike, love from Tash and Soph. What's your top tip to channel your creativity into your work? Because you're phenomenal.
Oh, thanks, Tash and Soph. Hello. Tash and Soph run my Mad About Xavier account, by the way. They're brilliant. Best fans ever. The question was, it's just gone off the screen. What are your top tips for, what was it?
Yeah, right here.
Oh, it's there. Thank you. What are your top tips?
Creativity.
Channel your creativity into your work. What a good question. How do you channel your creativity into your work? I think probably by being as relaxed as possible. I always find when you're not relaxed, you can't be creative. I think if you're stressing to get something done, to think of an idea or try and be as brilliant as you can creatively, I think it just doesn't work. You have to maintain a sense of calm in order for the ideas to flow. I always find that happens. I find the minute I'm like, I've got to do this and I've got no time to do it, and I just feel like my brain goes to like an empty box. It just feels like there's no ideas in there. It's just dead. And yet when I just have time to sit and relax, even sometimes when you're just making a cup of coffee or something and you're just allowing ideas to enter your brain, if it's I don't know, it could be anything. It could be about how you're going to perform a particular self-tape audition or a song that you've got to do in a concert or something, just allowing your mind to go, oh, actually, that could be an interesting way of approaching that. So that creative process only happens when you're relaxed. So that would kind of be my top tip for that. Good question then.
Yeah, like centering your core with breath. What do you do just to look after yourself in that sense, where things do get a bit too much and the pressures do start to creep in?
Yeah, breathing. I mean, breathing's everything. If you can learn some breathing techniques. I always say that actually. I was running a course on screen acting in the summer. And one of the things I was talking about was being as relaxed as you can in an audition situation or on set. And breathing is, top of the list of ways to calm yourself down. Just being able to take slow breaths, quite often taking a deep breath, but sometimes the alternative to that, which can be just as helpful, is getting rid of all your air from your lungs and then just relaxing. And actually that sense of relaxation when you breathe in is actually can be just as powerful as inhaling loads of air before you then relax. So I think that's a really important, probably top of the list way of calming yourself down, dealing with stress, is breathing.
Got another question. Oh my goodness, we're being spoilt for choice in the first 10 minutes. For Lauren here. Hi, Michael.
Hi.
I love your work. What are your tips on vocal maintenance over a longer run tour?
Hi, Lauren. Thank you for that lovely comment. Yes, maintaining your voice over a long job or a tour is, well, I've struggled with this my entire career. The more I learn about the voice, the more I understand about it and how to cope with it. My way of dealing with a long run vocally is just by being really disciplined. So when I'm in a long run of a show, I'll tend to not drink alcohol, or I'll tend to allow myself one night a week where I'll have like a glass of wine or something, because I suffer from acid reflux. If I drink too much alcohol, I can get, at nighttime, you get what's called acid reflux, which is when the acid from your stomach kind of comes back up your esophagus and burns your vocal folds, which is really bad as a singer. Just destroys your vocal folds. So that's something I try and do. I try and drink loads of water throughout the day, sipping water, not glugging it, because if you glug it, it just goes out straight away. You must sip it throughout the day. Vocal hydration is everything. Steaming, making sure your vocal folds are soft. So steaming with warm water, not immediately boiling water. I don't know whether you have a steamer, but there's a thing called Dr. Nelson's steamer, which is brilliant. It's a little ceramic. I've got one in the kitchen, actually. If I get time, I'll run and grab it. It's a little ceramic pot. You put hot water in it, and it's got a little like mouth tube that you breathe in and out of for like 10 minutes. And that's really good for first thing in the morning when your vocal folds are really dry because you've spent the entire night without any water. And then at the end of the night, when you've been singing and performing, your vocal folds have been hammering together for 2.5 hours, however long your show is. And you've been talking. Talking is exhausting as well. So before you go to bed, steaming is really good to help relax and hydrate the vocal folds before you go to sleep. Talking. I try and avoid going out. It's really boring when you're doing a show. When I'm doing a musical anyway, I try and avoid going to like loud, well, hey, we can't go to loud bars anymore anyway, so that's out the window. But yeah, generally talking in a loud bar is the biggest voice killer. So if you go out, if you are doing a show and then you go out for drinks afterwards, in the days when we're allowed to do that, you'd spend the whole night talking to people in a loud atmosphere, and you'd be shouting all that. It's basically like you're belting all night long. And the next morning you've got no voice left. That's why. So I try and avoid going out to loud places. And that's the way that I cope with the long run. And diet as well. If you're having very spicy foods, that contributes to acid reflux. Just making sure that you're just looking after yourself, eating well, maintaining your physical health as well. Just living like a monk or a nun, basically. Terribly dull.
We've got a question just coming from Ben. Lauren, thank you for that question.
Thank you, Lauren.
Hi, Michael. What advice would you have for being in work regularly in a tough industry before COVID? Thanks, Ben.
Just keep that up for a second, please, Bailey. Ben, firstly, hi. Ben is one of my ex-students from MX Masterclass. How are you, Ben? Hope you're doing well. Haven't seen you for a while. What advice would you have for being in work regularly in a tough industry before COVID? what advice would you have for being in work regularly? Yeah, that's a tough one, isn't it? Because luck plays a huge part of it. I had the great fortune of working with the late Hal Prince on his show Prince of Broadway on Broadway, and one of the things he used to harp on about was luck. And he was very open about it. He said, look, I've been incredibly lucky in my life. The things that have fallen into my path. And that's a huge part of it. So, to say I'm going to do this in order to work regularly, well, you can do everything you can, but you have to have a lot of luck as well. Things have to fall in place, and for you to get the opportunities to be able to audition for things and be in front of the right people. I would say just working as hard on your craft as possible, picking up as many skills as you can, is going to give you more longevity, because it's going to give you more scope when they're looking for, hey, I need somebody who can sing, for instance. I need someone who can play the guitar. I need someone who can drive. I need to, all these different things that we're required to do as actors. The more of those things, the more strings to your bow, for want of a better expression, that you have, the more likely you are to maintain longevity within the career. Working on yourself as an actor is the top most important thing, I would think. Knowing how to perform both on stage and on screen will give you the biggest opportunity to be able to then audition for all those things. So that would be my probably advice for trying to continue working, essentially. Yes, COVID aside, just generally being in the industry, just have as many feathers to your cap, strings to your bow. One of those. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Have as many things as that you can do better than anybody else as possible. Keep working hard.
During your experiences of holding masterclasses, and thank you for that, Ben. And Ben just says he's in good health. So that's great to hear. Have you learned anything from hosting these masterclasses from your students? Have you picked anything out that's
always? I mean, I can't think of one specific thing, but I'm always learning. And I think that's one thing I always say to my students as well, is never stop learning, because those people in the industry, I think, that feel like they know it all are the ones that dry up and then stop working or stop being interesting. And there are many, over the years, I've seen a lot of people who have been so instinctive and talented, exciting, and then they get to a point where they win all the accolades, and all of a sudden then they just don't continue to have that excitement in their performance, and probably because they've taken their foot off the gas, if you like, or they think they know what they're doing. But I think we're always changing as well. Styles change, styles of acting change, styles of singing change. You're constantly shifting sands in entertainment, and so to think, and performance style, and so to think that you go, right, okay, now I know how to deliver a song, I've got it, it's all good, or now I know how to act on camera, or whatever it is that you think you're always learning. And I love watching young performers work and seeing how they tick and seeing what they bring. What's great with younger performers is they're just limitless. They have no inhibitions. They'll throw ideas out because it's what comes into their head. And sometimes it's thrilling to see that, because you go, oh God, I wish I had that freedom. I've lost that freedom because I grew old, and all the filters start to come in, into place, and I can't say that, and I better not do that. But with young people, it's like, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be wild. I enjoy doing improvisation with young people as well because of that, because they just come up with the most crazy ideas but make them work. And so I'm just always learning. I'm just always watching and saying, I'm going to remind myself of that freedom when I perform whatever it is I'm going to do next.
Fantastic. We've hit a third of the way in exactly right now. Thank you for everyone that's been asking questions so far. If you want to ask a question for Michael, know that we have 14 minutes remaining. So get those questions in as soon as you can. Any question is a good question. Oh, have some as well.
I'm just going to show you that in case you're thinking, oh, well, he's drinking like it's not filtered, this water. It's actually lemons that I've squeezed into my water there, which is apparently really good for your system. Nature's what do they call it? Nature's acid, I think they call it. Good for stripping out things from the inside. I don't know the details, so I'm just
with the myth of honey and lemon. Does that work? Is that a thing, or is that just a myth?
I think there's it's a tricky one, isn't it? I think the level of vitamin C you get from the lemon will help battle a cold, which is essentially what you're talking about, isn't it? When people get a cold, they go, "Oh, I better have some honey and lemon because I've got a cold." The honey will help when you're drinking the hot water, will help soothe, because it kind of coats, doesn't it? Kind of coats the throat. So when you're drinking it, will help soothe the sore throat as you're drinking. But it's not going to specifically kill off bacteria. Although I do say that if you take a Manuka honey, it's meant to have a fantastic antibacterial qualities, but you have to have that without boiling water, because when you boil it, you kill off the antibacterial quality. So just raw Manuka honey is meant to be good for your throat.
Oh, okay. We've got Lily's just put in. Oh, this is a big message. Oh, I wish I could wear this. Well, I'm not wearing my glasses. Hi, Michael. Any advice for students going into third year on how they can start networking and creating contacts in the industry? Also, how do you know an agent is right for you? Thank you.
Ooh, two really good questions. Thank you, Lily. Hope you're well. Yeah, good questions. Firstly, it's a really tough time for young performers, I think, because of the current climate. So my heart goes out to you guys, and I know our industry feel the same way about all young performers right now, all students still in training. We all kind of go, oh, it must be, it's a tough enough industry as it is, but not even having your first foot on the ladder, if you like, before COVID came in is really difficult. But hopefully, because of that, there will be a great support from the industry in helping. It would be great if there was some initiatives. I don't know whether they exist, and then maybe they do, and someone can correct me if they do. Initiatives to help support students who are going to be coming out of college this year. Sorry, Bailey, can you leave the question up there, because I think there was another one on there. That'd be great. Thanks. Yeah. So kind of in terms of getting out there and networking, it's quite difficult, isn't it? I'm just hoping there are some initiatives that can say, okay, right, let's give all these third years an opportunity to go and just meet lots of casting directors, have lots of opportunities to just be seen and just have some connection with casting directors, because the casting directors are the gatekeepers of our careers, really, because without them, you don't get a chance to meet the director. So that's really important. So if there are any casting directors out there that can help, support our young students, that would be fantastic, and create some kind of, even if it's an online event, to start the conversation with young students about how they're going to help them, get them in the room for particular castings when they are out in the industry and no longer training. Creating contacts in the industry. Yeah, it's just getting out there, really. I mean, I've never been good at networking. I've never been good at selling myself. I think having a product or something to sell is different, but when you come to talking about yourself, I think it's a very common thing for Brits. Americans are great at selling themselves. They're so great at just going, man, I'm the best thing you've ever seen. Why don't you want to come and see me? They just have a way about them that they're so confident they can sell themselves. But I think as Brits, we're terribly apologetic for everything. Sorry for taking up your time. Yeah, I've never been good at that. And I think the networking I've done has been through the work I've got, I suppose. But it's a real chicken and egg, isn't it? It's like, how do you get the jobs? How do you start networking without initially having a job? How do you get a job? It is chicken and egg.
Well, isn't there? There's that fine line of like overstepping the boundary of trying to, use people as well and causing offense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, with the word networking, I think take it very loosely. I think just create good friendships with people. Just be a nice person, and if you're intending to get something from somebody, then offer them something back, or find a way that you can help them in some way. We'll work together with somebody, so there's not just take, because there are some people like that out there, and it doesn't go down well. So that would be one thing to say. Yeah, it's a really good point, Bailey, actually. And how do you know an agent is right for you? Wow, that's an interesting question, isn't it? I've had quite a few agents over the years, and when I tell people that, they're like, "Oh my God, you've changed how many times?" And mainly because of circumstance, really. It's just certain times of my life, certain times of an agent's life, or there's definitely a balance that has to be found between you. And you also have to have an honesty. That's one thing I really look for. Having been with quite a few agents over the years, I now look for just an honest approach, and an agent that is obviously going to get you auditions. That's the first and foremost important thing. But remember that you don't need to be friends with your agent. You work together, your work colleagues, but you need to have a similar mindset in terms of what you're both trying to approach, or what you're both trying to achieve in your approach. I think if you expect your agent to do all the work, then that's kind of misguided. And if your agent expects you to do all the work, that's misguided. There's a balance to be struck between the two of you. A lot of people say, don't be, don't feel like you have to be at the beck and call of your agent. Don't forget your agent works for you. But what we don't see as actors is how hard agents work behind the scenes, trying to get you in the door. And that's taken me a long time to realize that. I think, we sit at home, especially when, you're out of work, and during times like this, and you're sitting around and going, God, I've got so much time on my hands. Why is the phone not ringing? It's the worst thing in the world. Fill your days with, anything. If you wanted to go and do yoga, go and do that. You can do it from the comfort of your own home now, doing things like that with the power of the internet. Fill your days with being creative and looking after yourself, and you'll take your mind away from the void of auditions, because there are times when you can go weeks or months without auditions, and that can be really tough on your mental health as well. And thinking, am I really in the right industry? Should I be doing this? So keep filling your days. Like I was saying to Ben before with the answer, of adding more things to your tool belt, if you like, more things you can do. Learn a skill, learn to play an instrument, do stuff like that if you have time on your hands to do that. But that's kind of side pedaling a little bit from what we were talking about with how do you know an agent is right for you. I think it's instinctive. I think you go and meet an agent, and if you click, if you trust them, if you get a sense of trust from them, that they're going to be straight up with you. Because I think the worst thing is going in blindly into this industry, and that can happen a lot, thinking, well, I'm doing the right thing, or I'm I know exactly what I'm doing, and for no one to stand there and go, hang on a minute, that you walked into that audition and you wore that outfit, it was completely wrong. Or my agent is brilliant. Gavin Denton Brierley is the name of my agent, and he's great, because from day one I said, look, Gavin, honesty, that's all I want, just be honest with me. And now he is really honest, and it's great. I love it. I love people, even if it hurts. I'd rather people were honest with me, even if you're like, oh God, that's really bad. And I went to my American agent's offices in LA, and I wore this my fiance had picked out this jumper, which was kind of like a high neck, almost like a cricket jumper, but it was really fashionable over here at the time. And I was in there in kind of like my cool jeans and this jumper, and I was feeling really good about myself. And And I went into the offices, and I did like I had a picture taken in the offices, and my Gavin saw it and was like, "Why did you wear that?" I was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Cool." And he's like, "Yeah, but the Americans wouldn't see that as cool. They'd see that as like, like some middle class cricket lover." I was like, "Oh no!" But that's an example. That's an example of when my agent would be just brutally honest. But it's important. It's important, and have a good connection. Feel like you can pick the phone up and speak to them. But this was what I was going to say before. We as actors don't realize how hard it is to be an agent and how hard agents work. They fight to get their clients seen for a project. And if you think there are so many actors out there and so many agents representing actors and a handful of jobs, that when you get an opportunity to be in the room, it's a really great thing. And don't scoff at it. I think, jump at the chance and enjoy the experience of an audition. Obviously, if it's not the right thing for you and you don't feel you don't want to do it, then you need to be honest with your agent and say, I don't feel this is the right project for me, and therefore I'm going to pass on it. But I think it's a level of appreciation that the agent that you need to have for the agent who works hard to get that door open. And especially if they're a new agency, they will have to work even harder. There are the big agencies, the ICMs, the Universals and Independents. They have, a huge amount of clients, but a huge amount of agents, and they've got, they can open doors because of the connections they have. If you're a new agent, and quite often when you're coming out of college, you might sign with a young new agent. They have to work from the ground up. They've got to create their connections in the industry. They've got to create connections with casting directors from scratch and help them to trust them that they've got clients that are going to work. So that whole thing is a very, it's a kind of, well, for want of a better word, organic process to kind of build that connection and that relationship. So in the same way you were talking about networking, Lily, your agents have to do that networking with those casting directors. So I think having patience and having trust with the agent you eventually decide to go with is integral. So I think you just have to cling on to that and remember that, because it's so easy to sit there and be like, 15 minutes has gone by and I've not had a call from my agent. What is going on? I know when I started in the industry, I just wanted the phone to ring all day long, and it was painful, so painful. That's why you got to fill your days.
When do you know, through your experiences, when do you know when and when not to call? Because I think that sometimes can be a problem.
Well, I would say never call your agent. Really, that would be your agent's working hard to try and get you and other people work. And also, if they're working for other people, they're creating good connections with these casting directors. So you might be thinking, why is John getting all the attention at the minute? Well, John might get a lovely job with a particular casting director that now will see other clients of theirs because they've got a relationship with that casting director. So you kind of have to just go, okay, well done, John. Great. Thanks for opening the door for us all within the agency. I think you just got to try, unless you've got something really pressing, something, family issues or some life issues that are going to affect you going in the audition room, then just leave your agent alone. Let them crack on and let them contact you when they're ready. And also that thing of having done an audition, we've all done it. You have an audition and then you're like, 2 days later you're ringing, any news? Well, of course there's no news. They'd tell you if there's news. If you had the job, they'd ring you. And it took me so many years to realize this. I'm like, so itching to know. Come on, tell me something. Like, well, the phone hasn't rung, because if the phone had rung or we'd had an email, I would have passed it on to you and told you. So shut up. Just shut up and carry on working, on yourself and making yourself ready for these auditions.
Working on self, and going back to how you're talking about how filters start to come in place as you grow with experience. How are you able to deal with, because you are a big name, we've seen you on the television screens, we've seen you on stage, Broadway, West End. What do you do, just to, going back to breath, I guess, and just centering that call, what do you do just to really look after yourself in that sense of, you've just been called up, or you've just been called to do those self-tapes, and you just have to do it, but you've got that weight on your shoulders?
Yeah, I just think staying fit and healthy, eating well, it sounds really cliche, doesn't it, to say that? But when I started in the industry, I had absolutely no idea about fitness and diet. And it was only kind of starting to work with other people who did understand that I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll start rethinking about the way I eat, and I'll look after myself a bit more, and maybe I should think about joining a gym, and it's not to not for any kind of vain purposes, not just get all big and muscly, obviously depending on what you kind of roles you want to be typecast for, but it's more just for for mental health. I honestly think keeping yourself fit and healthy is great for your mental health, and I think it's important for stamina in the industry. When you're working in a musical, for instance, it's exhausting. Yes, people say, oh yeah, you get that job where you go and work for 2 hours a night. Oh, it must be so hard. My family have done it for years. They always tease me, you worked for a whole 2 hours today. Wow, you must be wiped. They have no idea that your entire day builds towards that performance in the evening. So from the minute you're waking up and you're eating a certain thing for breakfast, and then you're going to the gym to keep yourself in shape, and then you're maintaining it, you're drinking loads of water all day, you're not talking too much, so that by the time you get in the evening, you're primed and ready to give a great performance. Now that's your entire day working towards a performance. That's not a day off, as people think. Oh, you have all the days off, don't you? You must be lovely. You sit and watch TV all day. Well, no, it's not quite like that. So maintaining that stamina is essential. And also, on a TV or film set, people think, oh, you don't need a lot of energy to work in I don't know. Say someone's doing a scene where they're sitting on their sofa and they're having a conversation. Well, yeah, well, that's, physically, yeah, you don't need much energy for that. But in terms of the length of a day, the time you're called to set, getting hair and makeup done, sitting in your trailer waiting to put your costume on, then you get your costume on, then you're called to set for a rehearsal. You're sent back to your trailer. You're waiting around for another hour while they move a light. There's back and forth. Your energy levels are up and down, because you're thinking, oh, right, okay, now we're ready to film. No, we're not. No, we're not quite. Oh, we'll have rehearsal. Okay. So those energy levels that are up and down, you can't sustain good concentration if you're eating badly, for instance. If you're going to have if I've got a scene that I know is coming up after lunch, my lunch will be something that's filled with goodness. I'll make sure I don't. There were times in my life. I mean, I'm actually a vegetarian now, but there were times in my life when I'd have a burger and chips, for instance. In fact, you were talking about the Wars of the Roses earlier. Here's a great example. I remember specifically going for dinner in between. We did 3 shows a day on 2 days. So we did all 3 Shakespeares in one day, twice a week. And those days were mentally exhausting. And it was brilliant. It was an amazing experience. But by the end of the day, you were just completely mentally drained. But I remember having dinner one night, and I had burger and chips. At the time I was eating meat. I had a burger and chips for dinner. And when I went back on stage, the concentration level in my mind, the sharpness in my mind was just not there. I felt sluggish. I couldn't think of the words. We're talking Shakespeare. The words weren't coming easily. It was a horrible experience. And I really noticed it through that. And I thought, it's a perfect example of when great diet can keep you so mentally engaged and switched on. So from that point on, I was like, okay, I'll make sure I eat, fruit and vegetables and a lot of fish. And that was my diet for pretty much the rest of the run.
Wow. Like staying engaged. If you were just starting out now in this present moment, like many people that are tuning in right now, what would you be doing to try and give yourself a chance? Because it's already saturated, this industry, but even more so now because everything's been to a halt, and then there's going to be 2 sets of graduates coming out next year. And all sorts.
Yeah, that's a good question, isn't it? What would you be doing? I mean, the great thing that we have, I was going to say young people have, I sound like such an old man, but the great thing young people have these days is the internet. But it's a great tool. You know, you have a platform there that people can see your work on. You can, if you're a singer, for instance, you can have a YouTube channel or an Instagram account where you've got videos of you singing. So you're auditioning yourself. You know, you're throwing an audition out there for people to come along and watch. We never had that when I was younger. You know, when I started in the industry, the internet was alive, but we didn't have Instagram, and I don't think we didn't have Twitter, we didn't have Instagram. Oh my God, I'm showing my age now. But yeah, you didn't have that opportunity to showcase yourself online. So I think that would what I would be doing is taking as many online courses as you can. So many people are doing things for free at the minute. You know, getting the opportunity to just train, keep training. Obviously, I run MX Masterclass. If students can do something like that, or if they're an older student and they're currently in full-time education, then just working on staying fit and healthy, like I said before, but just working on your skills and then showcasing your skills online. I think it's a quite a nice way of being able to be found, be discovered.
Lauren, we got another. Oh, it's the same Lauren Hicken. Thank you. Another a question is, how have your experiences been working as a Brit in American theatre, etc.? I'm married to an American, so I've wondered about exploring the theatre scene stateside.
How have your experiences been working as a Brit in American theatre? Great. I mean, fantastic. I've had the great fortune of working at the Shakespeare Theatre in Washington, D.C. That was the first American experience I had. And I did a show called The Secret Garden there, and it was lovely. It was a lovely company, really nice company. Again, it was kind of non-commercial theatre. For me, is my favorite, because it's put on in-house. It's produced with care and love from the whole team. Everybody cares about the product and what they're putting out there. It's been financed, it's supported, and they know they can run it for 2 months or 3 months, however long the run is. And it's there to, yeah, of course, if they make money off it and everybody, to sell out, they're even happier. But there's something about that work that is, you value it more, and you are valued more as part of that. And there's a real collective, we're all in it together kind of feeling. And that's why I've loved working at like Chichester, for instance. It's very much, or the Sheffield Crucible. I love those experiences, and that was very much like that with the Secret Garden in Washington. I enjoyed that experience a lot. And then it was kind of crazy actually, because I did the matinee. We did a Sunday matinee as part of the Secret Garden. So I finished the Sunday matinee. I had to take my suitcases with me to the theatre, because I had to go straight from the theatre after my Sunday matinee to get on the train to New York to get to my apartment to start rehearsals the next morning for Sunset Boulevard. So that was kind of crazy. And then straight after Sunset Boulevard, I had like a day off, and I started rehearsals for Prince of Broadway. So I did 3 jobs back to back in America. So it was pretty like,
well, yeah,
full on for that year. But it was amazing. I mean, it was an amazing experience. And I think if you are curious about doing it, I mean, you're married to an American, brilliant. You can get a green card, right? You automatically, get yourself into the country. Why not? Why not? If you've got the desire to do it, and you and your husband want to, live over there, or wife, I should say. I don't know whether you didn't specifically say your husband. Then go to America and do it. Why not? Take the chance. It's as a Brit in America, it's interesting because I felt like there was a moment. I was actually privy to a conversation. I was in a dressing room, and there was a conversation about, I mean, why are we bringing people from other countries to do our jobs? I mean, Michael, you know, present company accepted, but why are we? And I was like, wow, okay, that's how they feel. So there's a very strong Broadway community, and understandably, you know, they work hard. They work really, really hard in America, and one of the main reasons is their insurance. You have to work like 13 weeks for the year or something to get your annual insurance covered. But if you don't, you have to pay for your own health insurance. So there's a struggle and a fight to get jobs like we don't have in the UK. So it's why the level, I think, is also higher there. Obviously, they've got the entire United States of America as well to draw upon. They've got way more people. So it's the level of talent and the level of work ethic is of a, I kind of hate to say it, but it's of a higher standard than the UK. And I think that's purely through necessity. So, but it's a great experience. I loved working in America. I would do it again. And it's go for it. I would say, why not? Don't live with any regrets. Just do it. Go for it. Enjoy your life if you can.
What type of shows do you think we'll be seeing more of when because things are starting to uplift or normality? Do you think we'll just be seeing the commercialized shows, or will we see non-commercial shows on the rise?
That is a great question. I in my instinct is, and I said this as soon as we got locked down, I knew that the theatre was going to close for a while. I instinctively went, well, great. That means we're going to end up with super commercial shows. You know, we're going to have, it's going to be filled with all your, you know, X Factor contestants, the people that Joe Public will know. It's very difficult being a producer because you're taking a risk. You're always taking a risk as a producer, putting something on, putting a show on in the hope people come and see it. And so I always see it, you know, I always try and balance. It's good as an actor to see it from other sides of the table, because otherwise you just get completely self-obsessed and you're like, oh, why don't they love me? Why don't they care for me? What's going on? You know, I hate everybody that's not an actor. You know, you've got to see it from everyone's point of view. You know, the producers are there primarily to get work on and to make money, right? And so, which is kind of why I tend to prefer non-commercial theatre. But if they're trying to make money, then, you know, unfortunately, people are generally going to go and see something they know. So, I don't know. I take, for example, Pretty Woman, the musical. Pretty Woman is a popular film. People know the story. They love the film. They don't know the music, but they know Bryan Adams, who wrote the music. So they're going to go, oh, okay, well, it's written by Bryan Adams. It's, you know, it's based on the film that I love. And, you know, so there's no risk involved in paying 60, 70 pounds for a ticket, or if you've got a family of four, you know, whatever. There's less inverted commas risk that you're not going to enjoy it. Now, the flip side argument of that is, does it necessarily are they necessarily going to enjoy it because is it good? Now that's something that's a completely different story, and I'm just using Pretty Woman as an example. I've not seen the show, so I'm not commenting on that, but I'm talking about something that is a commercial brand, if you like, something that people will go and see. So I think my instinct is that yes, more commercial theatre will prevail because more people will be inclined to want to spend their £60 on something they know has been written by whoever, or they know the story of already, or they know the big star that's playing in it. However, I would implore the UK to try and take a risk on small non-commercial products, non-commercial performances, supporting their local theatres, for instance. There are some amazing things that are made that are not commercial, really amazing products and, you know, productions. And I think you just have to take a risk. You have to keep, sure, if you want to go and see something like Pretty Woman, go for it. I'm sure it's fabulous and you'll have a lovely night. But we have to keep pushing the boundaries of art and exploring different things. Otherwise, we're just going to become, it's going to fall into kind of like a Disneyland of theater, and just everything will be sanitized and it's soft around the edges. And we have to keep exploring and pushing the boundaries of art and watching different things and exciting each other with new ideas, and that has to happen. Otherwise, art plateaus and becomes dull. So yeah, I mean, I think initially commercial theater is going to be the thing that's going to be out there, because they're trying to draw people back into the theaters. They're going to say, hey, come and see Benedict Cumberbatch in, whatever it is that we know the story of. That of course it makes sense. People are going to put their money behind that. But I just really want to try and instill, in as many people as possible, to take risks and go and see something you don't know the story of. Go and see something, or if you like the theater company that, Knee High Theater Company or something that did a great production of something else, go and see their next production, because that's probably going to be just as brilliant. So keep investing in new exciting work. That's what I would implore everyone to do.
And final few words, and thank you so much for coming here at CCI. There's people here, Ben, saying we agree, getting some messages on the socials as well saying they agree with what you just said. Is just a few words that people can invest in from you, of just giving them confidence now moving forward into the next year.
Well, the thing is, we're through the worst of it. That's the thing that makes me feel better about everything right now. We're through the worst of this pandemic, because we've never experienced anything like this, and now we know how to deal with it to a certain degree, but we know how to deal with it better than we ever have before. So we're never going to experience, touch wood, anything like this again in our lifetime on this kind of scale. And people need to be entertained. People need escapism. People need hope. People need to feel catharsis. They need to cry. They need to, we are emotional creatures, and you feel alive when you are feeling emotion. So people need they need entertainment for that. I mean, just look at how many TV series have been watched, throughout this whole of this lockdown. Everyone's been on Netflix, Amazon, Apple TV, whatever, watching all these things, because they want to be entertained. They want to go through that process. Performance will never die, and theater will never die. We love being in a live environment. We love sitting with people in a collective experience, that we are sharing that one live performance together with those other people, whether that's conscious or not. That's what's happening in a theater. You're collectively laughing together, or crying together, or feeling something, and you share an affinity with all the other people in that audience, whether you ever get to speak to them after the show or not. You've gone through this immersive, connective experience being in a theater, and you can't replicate that. I mean, for instance, I watched the Old Vic production of Lungs with Matt Smith and Claire Foy, which was fabulous. They were absolutely brilliant in it. Both fantastic actors, top of their game. But it was filmed in a theater with no one there, and it made me feel so sad. And you could feel the audience laughing in the ghost of the audience laughing. There was no laughter. There was no connective experience for us as an audience, and it was weird. And it was great to experience it, and I'm glad I watched it. And like I say, I'm glad I helped put some more money towards the Old Vic and keep that alive and everything. And it's great that they were doing that, and I'm fully supportive of it. But it does not replace live theater. It can't. And when we get back to theater, there's going to be I keep saying there's going to be like a renaissance of people's enthusiasm for wanting to go and see live shows. people that may have never been to see a play or a musical or a live production of anything will be more inclined to go, I think I actually would like to experience that, because I've heard so much about it during this lockdown. It's going this far has made us realize how good we had it previously, and hopefully it opens up a new generation of young theatre goers who embrace it and support it and become the next big stars, the next big directors, the next big producers. And we have to believe, well, I genuinely believe it, but we have to collectively have that hope that that's what's going to happen on the back of this.
Have a larger appreciation and value for theatre.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Michael, thank you so much for coming here.
Thank you.
Initiative. It's been so lovely, and hopefully see you again sometime soon. Thank you for springboarding us into the weekend. Stay safe, stay well. Enjoy all of those self-tapes, and see you soon.
Thank you. Cheers, Bailey. Take care.
That was the sensational Michael Xavier for us, everyone. Oh my goodness. Righty. Well, that's us actually done for today. Because our next session, Dan Tennell, unfortunately with vocal massage, has had to quickly rearrange due to personal endeavours. But I'll be making that announcement come 3:30. Anyways, but everyone, have a lovely, lovely weekend. I'll be babbling on at 3:30 about other events that are going on at the CCI and also Drink the Ink. But take care, stay well, and speak soon. Have a lovely weekend.